Mikel Arteta refused to defend his Arsenal players after a 2-0 defeat at Newcastle means their hopes of securing a Champions League place are out of their hands. It means Tottenham are guaranteed fourth place with a draw or better against Norwich on Sunday. Now, former Arsenal striker Alan Smith was at St James's Park last night as a Sky commentator for Sky. He joins us now. Have you recovered, Alan?
Just about, Vicky. Yeah, I got the train down. A lot of unhappy Arsenal fans on there, as you can imagine. But over the next couple of days, they'll maybe appreciate what a good season it's been, despite last night.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about last night first. You know, Arteta looked to be in shock, really, in his post-match interview. Do you think the pressure got to his young players, or was it more than that? What do you think?
I think it was a combination, Vicky, really. I mean, there were 2 or 3 players that I don't think were fully fit. The 2 centre-halves, Gabriel and Ben White. Tomiyasu, obviously, he had to go off as well. I think Thursday night took a lot out of them, mentally and physically. Newcastle had had 8 days since their last match, and their kind of running stats bore that out. But, yeah, and I think Thursday night, it was a hammer blow for the Arsenal lads, and maybe they lacked a little bit of belief at St James's Park last night. And I do think the age, the inexperience of the team was a contributing factor as well. But it's a night they will hopefully learn from. But they just didn't get going. You know, you're hoping at half-time that Mikel Arteta can get into them and they come out and it will be a different sort of contest. But it wasn't. And looking at Arteta on the sideline, he just looked a bit perplexed. How am I going to turn this around? And the substitutions couldn't really do it. And it was a bad night all round for the Gunners.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly was. And you say that, you know, their body language at the end of it, you know, really showed what was going through their minds. The fact that they could miss out on top 4 to their biggest rival, Spurs, is that going to be the bitterest pill to swallow, do you feel?
Oh, well, it's an extra sting, isn't it, without question. And especially when Arsenal have had it in their hands and they haven't been able to take the chance. That's what will hurt. Listen, if you'd have offered them 5th place at the start of the season, I'm sure they would have taken it, having finished 8th 2 years on the trot. Europa League football is by no means a failure. Defensively, they've been really good all season. And, you know, Ben White in that position, maybe he would have been in a better position had he been fully fit. We just don't know. But you have to give Newcastle great credit. The way they approached the task, they're not really playing for points. They were just trying to go out on a high in front of some fantastic support there last night. It was absolutely buzzing. And the players responded to that. And it was just too much for Arsenal. I didn't see that coming, I have to say. I thought Arsenal would respond after Thursday night. But I think the tank was empty, basically. And that's why we saw what we saw.
Yeah, I think that's a really good description of it. They did look like the tank was completely dry, wasn't it? Look, let's listen to this, because Granit Xhakas, of course, gave an honest and frank assessment of the performance. Let's hear what he had to say.
I don't know, if someone is not ready for this game, stay at home. As simple as it, no? Doesn't matter the age. You can be 30, you can be 35, you can be 10, you can be 18. If you're not ready for that, you're nervous, stay on the bench or stay at home, don't come here.
Oh, Alan, he's absolutely fed up, isn't he? As a former player yourself, how do you think that criticism will go down in the dressing room?
Well, as long as he said it to the dressing room face-to-face, it's OK. You know, harsh words have got to be spoken in situations like that. He's one of the senior players. Obviously, it's just minutes after the final whistle. You know, emotions are running really high. And he said what he thought. And I think we should applaud that, because too many times footballers come in front of the camera and it's just platitudes and cliches. But within the dressing room, and it's been a tight group of players, I think, this season. There's a good spirit within there. And they can have a heart-to-heart in the next few days ahead of Sunday's match as to where they want to go with the team, with the club, and what they need to do better. But Xhaka, yeah, he's a leader. I know he's let himself down and the team down on several occasions over the years, but he's somebody that always steps forward and takes responsibility. And that's why he was so upset last night, I think.
Yeah, he certainly was. I'm interested to get your thoughts on this because Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher feel that result could have a huge impact on the club's progression under Arteta next season. Phil Babb, though, today says he's building something nice at Arsenal. Which view do you see?
I think it's a step forward. As I said, 2 8th-place finishes, and now they're back in Europe. Of course, not in the competition they would like to be in. But as West Ham have shown us, that can be a great competition, and you get to the final, and who knows what can happen? You could get back into the Champions League that way. It is a drain on your resources, and you've got to be clever with your selection, and that's why they need to add to the squad. But I don't think there's any reason to be getting too down. I think they will make signings this summer, and not having Champions League football, of course, affects sometimes the quality of those signings, but they can and will, I'm sure, bring players in that will deepen the quality, because that came home to roost last night as well. The squad's certainly not big enough, and when you're calling on 1 or 2 fringe players, they can get found out. So that's the next step for Arteta, I think, Vicky, to give himself more choices and better quality choices at times. But, I think the future's bright, as they say. It's a young team, as we all know, that's only going to get better. And with the right additions, that can help them on the way.
Yeah, how do they, you talk about them being young, they are the youngest team in the Premier League, aren't they? They've got this record, though. They've only won 4 points from losing positions. Is that a measure of the youthfulness? Is the fact that they can't turn something around on the pitch when they're presented with a situation like that?
Yeah, perhaps so. I mean, it's not a stat that you want to have next to your name, really, is it? I think they've shown plenty of fighting spirit, but that statistic, doesn't bear that out to a certain extent. So that's something that they've got to change. But yeah, I think that immaturity, that inexperience does play a part. And this season would have been a great learning curve for so many of those players, the likes of Saka and Smith Rowe, Martinelli, the younger lads, and Ketia. Hopefully he'll be there with the Gunners next season. They would have learnt a lot from it. I know that's, doesn't sound great the morning after the night before, but once they can settle down over the summer and just take stock of where they are and where they can go, I think they should feel optimistic.
And I don't want to be the statistician with the doom and gloom, but they have lost 13 games in the Premier League this season. That's their joint most in a 38-game season. There were many doubters of Mikel Arteta, particularly at the beginning of the season. Like you say, it appears to be turned around. Some still think that he hasn't got enough experience. What do you think?
Well, I think he wants them to gain experience together. So it can be a slow process. I don't think you can make leaps in terms of progress too quickly. I mean, you say they lost that amount of games. They also won an awful lot of games. They only drew about 3 or 4, I think. So it was either win or lose. I mean, last 10 games going into last night, they'd won 5 and lost 5. So it was up and down. But as I say, Vicky, I think they can learn from this season, lick the wounds, and become a better outfit next year with the value of what they've gone through this season.
Yeah, I mean, like you said earlier on, we shouldn't take anything away from Newcastle, should we? Because how much of a threat are they going to be to everyone next season?
Well, again, I think Eddie Howe was just trying to play it down a little bit. They can't go from there to there and start thinking about qualifying for the Champions League. But what he's done so far has made them a better side, and what he'll do in the summer, you'd imagine, will make them a better side again. So I think it's over the next 3 or 4 years where you're gradually climbing up and heightening your horizons and your ambitions, your targets. But fantastic to see Eddie Howe and his coaching staff do so well there. A lot of doubters when he took the job, and he's clearly a talented coach who's got them working as a team. Their work ethic last night was second to none. But I didn't really answer your question, Vicky, about Arteta, and I do think he's the right man for the job. Like the players, he's new in the role. He's a new manager who's made mistakes without question, but he'll learn from this campaign as well. Heck of a difference between being a coach and the manager, where the buck stops with him. So he's an intelligent lad, and he'll take on board some of the mistakes, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. And of course, he was backed heavily in the transfer market last summer. Does he need the same again? Do you expect to see a number of players leave? Because, of course, a lot of players did leave as well.
Yeah, I mean, just some of the players that you forget about maybe that have gone out on loan. He'll be hoping to get some money, but he doesn't want to be offloading too many players because he wants to build on that squad in terms of numbers. But yeah, they spent a lot of money last summer, more than anybody expected, really. Will it be the same again? We'll wait and see. I mean, much depends on whether the targets that they're after, they can get hold of them. They couldn't in January, could they? Try to get a centre forward. But they need to get a striker without question. Hopefully, as I said, Eddie Nketiah stays because I think he's got a bright future. And we'll see what the club does, what Stanley Kroenke does, whether he can pump a bit of cash in and give Arteta some good quality talent coming into the club.
So, look, Alan, finally, it all comes down, of course, to the final day. Can you see any way that Tottenham slip up at Norwich and Arsenal beat Everton?
Not really. Well, I could see Arsenal beating Everton. Yeah. Listen, it could. You never say never in this game. Imagine if word comes through to the Emirates that Norwich are 1 up. It could be one of those days, but I mean, it's 100 to 1, if not more than that. That Spurs slip up at Norwich. Obviously, Norwich, Dean Smith will want to go out on a high as they go back down to the Championship. But no, you just can't see it. And unfortunately, it looks like Arsenal's race has run, and most will be looking ahead to most will be looking forward to a restful summer before they'll soon be back at pre-season training and an early start to next season.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Thank you for joining us, Alan, as always. Take care.
Thank you. Cheers.